And this was done largely, to use a colloquial term, by pulling ourselves up by our own bootstraps. The point is that solutions of many of our problems in the UP are within our reach if we only have the correct attitude and the raw materials. This introduction is already a bit long, but I need to add what I will attempt to do. The discussion of the various challenges and opportunities are grouped in two simple major themes: the life of the mind and love of country. I will point to attitude change, the need to remove constraints in the university's future, and I will suggest points of view, perspectives, or action for faster progress. Do not expect to hear extraordinary things. Instead, I will expound on issues and experiences that I want to share with you because I have found them most important. The life of the mind. Issue, poor communication. Attitude change, always cultivate the life of the mind. Today, communications technology has advanced so much that people have begun to forget to converse with one another face to face. People have become creatures of the mobile phone in the first instance, as this is the most affordable. Secondly, we are becoming too dependent on computers and the internet, although I must confess, if these are used properly, they should be valuable assets. For example, every day I turn my computer on and it opens up the whole world. I find it a great advantage to be able to communicate with professionals and friends spread across many continents at the touch of a mouse and a few keys. What I do decry, as mentioned previously, is the neglect of personal conversations to exchange professional, official, and other useful information. I sometimes engage students in conversation to probe into their breadth of knowledge. I use as an example of the value of reading and broadening one's field of knowledge an actual experience in the life of an American doctoral candidate. At the defense of her dissertation about bioluminescence in the slip mouth or sapsap, which she collected from Manila Bay, this biologist was asked by her examination panel, in the midst of the scientific questions about her research, if she knew the story of the Spanish hero El Cid. Her immediate reaction was surprise and doubt. Had she heard the question correctly? Fortunately, she had read the epic poem, El Cantar del Mio Cid, in English. At the end of her examination, out of curiosity, she asked the panel the relevance of the question asked, whereupon the chair told her that they wanted to know if she was sufficiently well-read to be deserving of a doctoral degree from UCLA. Sad to say, more often than not, when I ask students some questions about history or literature that I think should be common knowledge to university students, I draw a blank response. I lament that deficiency and encourage them to take time out to become informed scholars by reading extensively. We do not stimulate the life of the mind sufficiently at the present time, although I would like to believe that sometime in the history of this university, people were better informed because they read and conversed more about scholarly topics. We must not forget that first and foremost, a university is a community of scholars, and we must be able to communicate inside and outside the classroom. Aside from the formal meetings, do we probe and make an effort to foster questioning, reason, and discourse outside the class? Often, it is in these informal settings that the mind is probed and teased, preparing it to function better in the real world. Survivorship versus scholarship. Be a profound scholar above all. Last January, Dean Raul Pangalangan wrote an article in the Philippine Daily Inquirer entitled, "Passion for Reason, a University for the Philippines," in which he decried the popular misperception of what a public university should be and who should support it. Towards the end of the column, he talked about the smart man, in quotes, whose ersatz learning is just enough to dazzle the lay public, but who knows not how, cares not, dares not to change the world. Prior to that statement, he quoted Oliver Wendell Holmes Jr., who contrasted smartness with a dignity of moral feeling and the profundity of knowledge. With that as a lead, I will relate a conversation I had some years ago with a UP alumnus who was looking for people to employ in an IT project. He made a comparison among the recent graduates who applied and remarked that while the UP graduates or products had survival instincts and skills that allowed them to perform immediate tasks, they seemed to lack the deep mastery and understanding of the processes. Further, according to him, they were not as polished or educated as the applicants from the leading private schools, even though the latter had their shortcomings as well. How does this come about? Is it because we are too content to live a day-to-day survival existence, often forgetting the long-term and broader horizons of a true university education? Is there a tendency among us to be skilled in the descarte without being concerned about the broader and deeper foundations of learning, as Raul pointed out in his column? I hear the word habilidad too often on this campus, and I share the distaste of quite a few thinking people in seeing the words UP ang galing mo advertised on Centennial t-shirts. They have a shallow ring. There is a pressing need to focus our students on scholarship, not just survival. It seems that too many are content to see them graduate and get a job wherever that may be. How many faculty members really spend time to talk to their students outside the classroom to try to probe their objectives and values in life? Does the campus provide adequate opportunities for such interactions between mentor and pupil? Are we truly concerned about the learning environment? Take the simple question of class meetings. How many 3-unit courses have only one long meeting a week instead of having 2 or 3 contact sessions? It may be news to some that there are pedagogical or educational and psychological reasons for spreading class sessions into repetitive shorter meetings as against the convenience of 1 3-hour meeting a week. What value do we, as educators, place on this versus the convenience or expediency of meeting only once a week, albeit for the sake of a working student or the research time requirements of the faculty? I believe that there is here a real lack of appreciation of what scholarship and valuable education should be. Physical constraints of the campuses. Consider moving to paradise. Last December, I was on the campus of the University of Queensland together with 13 MSI graduate students for a workshop. The previous May, I was on the campus of the University of California, San Diego for the planning session for the scientific article in Science, which I had previously mentioned. And I have been to many campuses abroad. One striking contrast between those university campuses and ours is the way that the sidewalks are maintained. Only here do I see discontinuous sidewalks, sometimes with open manholes, uneven in elevation and width, often ending abruptly, forcing the pedestrians into the way of the passing vehicles. Are they indicative of the fragmentation we see in society? I will return to this topic later. You might say that sidewalks are not the main course in a university education, but do they matter? Most will probably say, not really. I argue that they do, as does any physical attribute of this university. But how important? I like to say, quite important. Of course, we are more aware of the situation of our restrooms and of our buildings in general. Here, as in many other attributes of this university, we see tremendous diversity. But is this unintended aspect of the university education that we wish to impart to our students? I hope not. So what message should we convey to the youth? That we care about them, about their welfare, whether it be values, knowledge, skills, health, or comfort. I feel that this aspect of relative physical neglect contributes to the less than optimal performance of our students where it should count. The proper development of the mind and spirit. We should pay more attention to the environment where the students spend 4 or 5 years of their lives. I believe that a comfortable campus does much to uplift the mind, whether it be that of a student, staff, or faculty. I cannot let this opportunity pass without saying something about the botanical aspects of our campuses. In our upbringing, whether we are Christian or not, was not the concept of paradise closely associated with the Garden of Eden? I doubt very much if there are many among us who really want to go to another destination, whether it be in this life or in the next. Faculty and other staff, develop a better service ethic. The faculty make up the main force of any university. This university can boast of possessing what might be regarded as the largest concentration of brain power as might be found in any academic institution in the country. But is it at an optimum level, particularly in terms of performance and output? I believe not. Some of the reasons I have already touched upon. I will elaborate further. Actually, if this lecture is directed to a particular group, I would like to say it is directed to the faculty and next to the leadership, present and future. Before going any further, let me say that the observations apply in varying degrees to different individuals. Thus, there are many who, if measured with a yardstick, would pass with flying colors. But there are many, too many in my estimation, that still fall below the passing mark. It will be up to oneself to try to figure out where one stands in the fields of excellence, achievement, and output. The area where I feel there is much room for improvement is in the service ethic. In my years with the university, I have seen exemplary performance by many faculty, but sad to say, I have also seen some of the less than exemplary kind. Even in the development of the Marine Science Institute, or early in the development of the Marine Science Institute, I made it clear to one and all that I expected the 40-hour week as the minimum and not the norm. By example, I showed that a motivated, even if underpaid, faculty member should devote more time than that to his work. But we were probably the exception then. As time has passed and as we have grown, I have not seen a proportionally vigorous effort as I did in the earlier years. The net effect may not have been noticed much because the increase in numbers and the improvement of the system has maintained an acceptable level of productivity of the institute as a whole. No doubt, the output would be greater if the effort on the part of each and every individual could be sustained at the same level as it was in the early years. There is a danger in coasting on the laurels gained in the past by one's predecessor